Good evening. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hi, good evening. My name is DK Jonah, and you're welcome to our Sunday series. Now, every Sunday we do things a bit differently because on Sundays we do the series where we plan for the new week and we also talk about how to get from stock to finish. So for the past 18 days, I've been going live daily and people said I need to bring it on Instagram. So Dr. AB, welcome. The aim of this series is to help people overcome procrastination, get started, and finish what they've started. Now, at the beginning of the year, or most times when you're working on a goal, you start well. You're like, okay, this is what I want to achieve. You start that goal. But all of a sudden, you realize that you're no longer making progress when it comes to a certain goal. You are what we call stuck. So, how do you go from getting stuck on your goals to finishing? And for the past 18 days, we've looked at a couple of topics. One being the fact that our attitude to work could stem from our attitude to chores and problems, and we see work as punishment. So sometimes when you're doing certain things, when you think it's fun, you're willing to do it. But once you start seeing it as a punishment, you're not willing to do it. We've also talked about having work ethics because sometimes we could have work ethics when it comes to certain areas, and there are some times we don't have work ethics. I was having a conversation with somebody today, and we were talking about football. And I said the discipline you use on the field is the same discipline you can use when you're studying. Most people are excited when they have to do something fun, but when they see something as work, they shut down. They completely do not want to do it. So we talked about discipline. We've also talked about the fact that it's because sometimes people know they should set smart goals. They set smart goals, but something gets along the way where they start procrastinating and they're not able to make progress. So they get stuck, which is what we refer to as being stuck. So, how do you overcome procrastination? How do you complete what you've started? How do you achieve it? So, what I'm doing or what I've been doing for the past 18 days is not just to talk to you about setting goals because we've gone beyond goal setting. Everybody knows you should set goals, everyone knows you should set smart goals. However, not everyone completes the goals that they've started. So, how do you finish what you started, which is what we're coming to talk about? So, today's conversation is on overcoming distractions. Now, why am I talking about distractions? There are certain times you want to do certain things. For example, I wanted to go live today. I had to do something to ensure calls don't come in because those calls could distract me from my main purpose and then I won't be able to prepare for the evening session. There are certain times you are working, you could be doing something important, but then something else distracts you or prevents you from doing those things. So, how do we overcome distractions? And can distractions be totally eliminated? So, as usual, we have to define terms. When I refer to distractions, when it comes to productivity, what I'm looking at is this: I'm looking at factors, stimuli that divert your attention and hinder your ability to stay focused on the task at hand. So it's any task at hand that you're doing, any factor or any stimuli. So and you will understand why I said factors and stimuli. In the past, I used to see distractions as just the factors only. But now I've understood that there are two parts to it, and it's not just only factors. Overcoming distraction is not about eliminating it. Now, when you try and forcefully eliminate distraction, you're not doing yourself any good. What you will observe is you will keep failing at it because you can't eliminate these things. They are there, they are constant, but what you're doing is overcoming them, managing what's around you. So your focus should not be on eliminating it completely. It is about building the resilience and focus to navigate through distractions and stay on track towards your goal. I think it was on in the first week we talked about the fact that every goal has different tasks that you need to do to accomplish these goals, and the task require different attention. So we talked about having your major list, your minor list, and your mini list. Now, when it comes to doing things on your major list, things that require deep work, need your full concentration, you cannot afford to be distracted. So, how do you take the habits that you've learned in school while you're studying, that you've learned when you're playing, while you've learned when you're doing things that you enjoy and things that you hate, to ensure that it helps you to be the best version of yourself? And the people I'm communicating with are people that I know are invested in their own personal growth and development, which is why you're listening to this. And in order to invest in your own personal growth and development, you have to work. We've mentioned earlier that it takes effort to do things effortlessly. So when you are the best at what you do, some people may say, "Oh, why is it so simple for you to do? Why does it you make it seem effortlessly?" Even when it comes to eliminating distraction, what I'm trying to say is overcoming distraction is not about eliminating it. It's about understanding that it takes effort to do these things. So you need to put in the effort, you need to put in the time, you need to put in the energy to ensure that you are able to minimize and eventually overcome. So when I start listing the distractions and I ask you to list yours, because as usual, I'm going to give work. I want you to be objective. I want you to be intentional. I want you to be honest. I want you to listen to this conversation with an open mind and not think about how can I eliminate this immediately. But first of all, how can you identify it? We've talked about the fact that there's difference between self-awareness and self-action. So now that we are aware that there are distractions, we need to accept the fact that yes, we do get distracted sometimes, but we can stay on track. Now, for distractions, we're looking at two different types of distractions: internal distractions that are internal to us, and external, so things outside our body. So, internal are things that are going on in our mind, whatever is happening within us. Those are the internal distractions. Then the external ones are those that are external, outside the environment. And we could name a few. So, sometimes you could be distracted by noise, and sometimes the noise may not last long. So, just imagine you've made up your mind that you want to write an essay, especially those in uni, and then there's a construction noise going on outside. It's going to prevent you from focusing. If I was talking to you and then beating the drum at the same time, that's external, that's noise. You won't be able to concentrate, you will get distracted, your attention is diverted. Remember, we said it's attention being diverted. Interruptions for different people, both introverts and extroverts. Interruptions, people, you're doing something and someone physically comes to you and interrupts what you're doing. That's a simple way of distracting you. It could be your kids running into the room, it could be your spouse, it could be someone knocking on the door, the postman. So sometimes these interruptions prevent people from coming back to do the work. Some people are fantastic that they are quickly able to switch between being distracted and taking action immediately. Not everyone has that luxury. So when we look at distractions, we are able to. Oh, it seems we have a disconnection. Okay, I'm not sure what platform, but we're not live on a certain platform. Please, Oyinda and Gloria, I say Gloria, let me know if the Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn are connected. It seems LinkedIn is not connected. For those on Instagram, we stream on different platforms. That's why you're not seeing my face. I stream on different platforms and I just move between the devices to see what's going on. But I would continue. So please, if anybody's listening from LinkedIn, let me know if it's connected because it seems the platform is disconnected. All right, let's continue. So we've talked about interruptions, notification, and alerts. There are certain times I've gone live and I forgot to switch off WhatsApp on my phone. The alerts and the notifications come. This prevents you from focusing. So notification and alerts prevent you from focusing on the things you should focus on. So these are distractions. For those just joining us, I am Ina. What we're talking about is overcoming distractions when it comes to doing the things that we want to do. So we say notification and alerts. Sometimes you just see yourself browsing on the internet. You see yourself scrolling on social media. That's a major distraction. You just look at one notification, then you find yourself scrolling, especially on TikTok. With TikTok, you can scroll for hours. Your personal devices could also be a distraction. Your TV, we've talked about environment stimuli. All these things prevent you from focusing. But even if you have identified which one prevents you from focusing, there are certain times that if someone speaks to me or I get an interruption, I get a phone call, to get back to work is difficult. I always tell my team, don't send me a WhatsApp message while I'm teaching, or don't put messages in the chat unless someone else is going to read them out for me. Because the moment I see those messages, I start scrolling and I need to read all those messages. That's just the way the ADHD brain is formed. Everybody is different. So it's about knowing yourself. Which of these external distractions prevents you from working? And once you get distracted by these things, how do you get back on track? For everyone it is different, but when it comes to external stimuli, we can overcome them by creating a dedicated workspace. I understand that in places like London, where we don't really have that much space, this may be difficult. But it's just about having a little bit of space for yourself, that you put every single thing you need to work where you need to work. For some people, it could be different. For me, what I always say is, if you want to go out to the gym, put everything you need for the gym down before you go to bed, because that's not going to distract you from searching for it. So you have to manage your digital distractions. So devices are amazing. You can go on do not disturb from a certain time. So for me, my devices have gone on do not disturb from 7 p.m. to 9 to 7 a.m. It's automatic, because I know that I am live certain times of the day. So I cannot afford to be distracted. And I also know how much time it takes me to prepare to come live. So yes, it may look like, oh, there's not much work being done, but work is being done behind the scenes. So I need to ensure that I don't allow these distractions to prevent me from working. I think I've had to set boundaries with others and with myself, especially. So, how do I set boundaries with others? It's already a known fact. People know that, okay, DK will not receive a call at a certain time when she's live. Check if she's live. If she's not live, she can take your call. So, setting boundaries with others is also making them understand that even if I want to go live at 9, a certain day I may have allowed you to talk to me 5 minutes to 9, but there are certain days I won't allow that. But putting those boundaries in place have helped me. What about you? What boundaries can you put in place for yourself when it comes to interruptions? You could have a physical sign that says do not disturb, so your children know that you're on a call that is important and they do not disturb. Yeah, and sometimes we have to prioritize and manage distractions or interruptions. I always do co-working twice a day for two reasons. When I started working with Gen Z and we're working remotely, I understand that they live with their parents and they have to communicate to their parents that they are working. But not everyone sees the work that we do as important work. So by having those co-working sessions, they are able to actually get work done. And everybody around them knows that from this time to this time they are working. So I had to prioritize and manage the interruptions that they get in order everybody knows their availability. Which brings me to the next point. Communicate your availability. That's one thing that I have to do. I've had to communicate to people that I can take calls Monday, Wednesday, Fridays when it comes to client goals. Tuesdays, Thursdays, I don't take calls. Why am I doing that? I'm communicating my availability so I don't get distracted. So if you know that I'm on a call from this time to this time and you just want to talk, you know that you can't talk to me at this time. And for people, it's different. The reason I'm sharing my own experience is because I believe that by telling my own story and sharing how I do it, you can also figure out how you want to do it. It's about what works for you, not what works for everybody. And that's the thing. Practice time blocking. We talked about time blocking yesterday, and no, on Friday. And it's important. Block out time for certain activities. Take your calendar and block out time. Maybe one Sunday we will practice time blocking practically, and then you can see how you can do it on your calendar. When I'll use color codes and different things, I use different colors to signify different things. So, for instance, I will say red is for personal, yellow is for the team, different colors. So when I see it, I know that okay, whenever I see blues, that means I have an accountability call with a client. Whenever I see yellow, it's a session with my coach Victor. By giving them colors, I'm able to actually practice time blocking and prepare for myself to work. Seek a quiet and secluded environment if you can, and most importantly, to avoid distractions, take breaks. What about internal distractions? I think I want to spend a little time here. Your mind wanders a lot. And sometimes when our mind wanders and we start daydreaming, sometimes we don't know how to bring ourselves back. So yes, mind wandering is a very, very, very specific internal distraction that affects many introverts because we live in our head. So how do you prevent yourself from mind wandering? And one thing I have noticed when I try to prevent myself forcefully from mind wandering is that I my mind just shuts down or my mind just keeps wandering. So first of all, for me, it's acceptance. Accept the fact that okay, yes, at this point in time, I'm thinking about this thing, but is this something I can think about shortly? Is this something I can come back to later? Okay, do I need to take a break? Have I been working for too long? So I ask myself difficult questions and I answer these questions. Then I move on. So or I write my thoughts and I say, okay, I'll come back to this later. By not pushing it aside and forcing it under the carpet, I will address the issue and that gives me the ability to get back to work. Because what we are talking about is productivity. We've talked about time management, and we realize that time management is not only about your time, especially in this era, it's about respecting other people's time. Now, look at lack of motivation. Sometimes motivation is not enough for you to get things done. Some people don't want to work until they are motivated. I need the motivation to work. Is motivation enough? Is motivation the only thing you need? When you lack motivation, what do you do? For me, it's like address it. Why am I not motivated? The same thing. I think a lot on paper. And then discipline comes into place. If I have committed myself to this and I said I'm going to do it, I won't I will do it. I wasn't motivated to come live this evening. Neither was I motivated to come live yesterday. Neither was I motivated to come live on Friday. I've come online even if I am not motivated. I'm like, I'm having a migraine. I should be in bed. I don't want to do this thing. But I had to tell myself, why did I give myself this challenge of doing this thing for 30 days? I had to remember why I started. And that lack of motivation for me, it's a fact. Yes, you'll be motivated, but motivation enough alone is not what should push you to work. And when we're talking about motivation and how to ensure that this lack of motivation doesn't prevent you from doing anything, then you will learn about self discipline. So, tomorrow's conversation is on self discipline. We're going to talk about how, although you may lack the motivation, the fact that you are practicing self discipline is what matters. Then, negative self talk, inner self criticism, self doubt, these are things that exist. Negative self talk, you talk down on yourself, you critique yourself, you doubt yourself, you don't believe yourself. There, a wise man once said that there are more dead dreams, not because people don't have the money, but because they doubt themselves. Self doubt kills more dreams than any other thing in this world. So sometimes the reason you've not done what you want to do is not because you don't have the qualification. It's not because you don't have the money. It's not because you don't have the network. It's not because you don't have the skills. It's because you doubt yourself. How is self doubt distracting you from doing what you should do? Self doubt is real. It's a real thing. Negative self talk is real. The fact that you have this inner voice that keeps critiquing you, the way you talk to yourself sometimes doesn't help you. The way you critique yourself doesn't help you. The things you say to yourself, you can't even say them to your enemy. Some of us don't see ourselves as people that are creative, are good, and have something that can succeed. So before we even make an attempt, we failed ourselves in our minds. And this could be as a result of childhood trauma, trauma from academic success or failures. You finish with your first class, you didn't get a job, nothing happened for you. You keep doubting yourself, you failed in so many areas, and then you keep doubting yourself. If you don't address those issues professionally and personally, you're not going anywhere. There are lots of resources that you could use to help you address the issue of self doubt. I know I always like bringing quizzes that we should take, but this is not a topic I wanted to deal with or an aspect I wanted to just brush over quickly, because we cannot overcome self doubt with a magic wand, even if we want to. If we want to say, oh, just get over it, that's what people say. I have bad news for people that say it's get over it, and I have good news for people that know that they can get over it. You can't just snap yourself out of inner self criticism. You can't just snap yourself out of negative self talk. You can't snap yourself out of self doubt, because if you just keep pushing it and snapping out, putting the dust under the carpet keeps piling up, and before you know it, you cannot put a chair on that part of the carpet. You are just putting a band-aid on a wound that keeps going deeper and deeper. You need to address the main issue when it comes to negative self-talk. So yes, practicing mindfulness, writing down your thoughts, praying about it, being intentional about what you're feeding yourself, surrounding yourself with positive community, with a positive community, positive affirmations, confessing scriptures. All these things can help you, but it won't help you overnight. It's something that you have to have the self discipline. Remember, we talked about self discipline to do. It has to become an habit and ritual that you do consistently. It's not one and done and dusted. Anyone that tells you that, tell the person to give us the magic pill, because we all need it. If it was one done and dusted, we would not all be where we are. Everybody has had one bit of failure or so in their life, one time or the other, or have had things that have hurt them or they've hurt others. And if they do not address the main issue, you can't fix it. So it will lead to emotional distress. You're distressed emotionally, you cannot focus. Definitely, that is going to distract you from working. So even if I give you all the tools, all the resources, every single thing you need to thrive, you cannot thrive because of the way you see yourself, because of what you've told yourself about yourself, because of the limiting self belief you have about yourself. So many people will say, I've never given myself negative self talk. If those thoughts come, like we said, some things cannot be eliminated completely, but you can overcome them. When those thoughts come, if they come, when they come, what should you do to protect yourself? And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But like I said, this isn't my area of specialization, but this is what I can tell you that I do for myself. I have scriptures that you speak to yourself daily. I'm a Christian, so I will always go back to the word of God. And if you're speaking and it's not coming into your soul, write them down. Take pen to paper and write it down. Write it down over and over again. Remember that punishment they used to give us in primary school, secondary school, when they say, I will never do this, blah, blah, blah. Write it 500 times. Write that scripture 500 times. Keep on writing it. Oh, I don't know how to pray. Write out scriptures. Communicate to God with scriptures. Communicate to yourself. Speak positively about yourself, because this may be the reason you are not getting things done. The emotional distress you have, and it could have led to lack of clarity or direction. So you have no direction where you want to go. I call those advocates because they have a 9 to 5, they have a thriving career, they may be in the military, they may be in different parts of the world, but they have no direction. If they've not been given direction, they don't have clarity when it comes to their own personal development. It's dependent on their career, it's dependent on their positions. So the internal distractions only come when it comes to doing things that they benefit from. But if it's to support others and have that savior complex, they have it. And there are people that walk on earth like that. I call those the advocates. Then we have the lost sheep. This one does they don't have they're inconsistent, they don't have goals, they're just going everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Okay, let me start using you. I've been told to use you, so pick one you are inconsistent. You do not have a sense of direction. You do not have clarity about what you want to do. You don't know what you want to do apart from your careers. You know you should be doing something, but you don't see the reason to do it. These are things that could cause you internal distractions. Remember, we're talking about internal distractions, not just about work. So this person could be a lost sheep in their personal life. You could be a lost sheep in your personal life, but your career could be thriving. Perfectionism. The senior brother of everything that leads to disaster is perfectionism. Perfectionism is something that prevents people from focusing. It prevents them from taking action because every single thing has to be perfect before they take a step. Oh, I want to start a t-shirt business. That's what you said now. In order for you to start a t-shirt business, you need to have the logo, you need to have the money, you need to have the models, you need to have the t-shirts, you need to have the right fabric, you need to know the design, you need to have the right videos, you need to have the right influencers, you need to have money to pay those influencers. Every single thing must go perfectly. There is no flexibility with you, and that's why you're distracted. Perfectionism kills more people, without doubt. Perfectionism. You don't take any step. You're stuck in one place and you can't even see it. For a perfectionist, they want everything perfect and they see what everybody else is doing wrong, but you never see what you're doing wrong. So you're judging every other person. You're judgmental and you are judging every other person apart from yourself because you're perfect. So perfectionism could be a distraction, and sometimes these things have to be addressed. One major internal distraction that many people will not agree with is multitasking. Ah, ah, only you wants to run a marathon and cook fish at the same time. Multitasking is something that people think is the best, but when it comes to doing deep work, it's actually a distraction. Sometimes when you're multitasking, you do not have the ability to do anything you're doing well. So you're just distracting yourself from the things you should be focusing on by focusing on every other thing. I call it that you're busy being busy, but you're busy doing nothing. That's multitasking. And you may agree or disagree with me, but I stand by that. Another thing that prevents people from doing anything, the another internal distraction is fatigue or lack of sleep. Now, there's sometimes I remember one semester I studied and studied and studied hours. Wasn't sleeping practically. Put my leg in water. I was drinking coffee and I was just studying. I failed woefully. So fatigue and lack of sleep is an internal distraction that prevents you from doing anything worthwhile. But how do you overcome this internal distractions? Remember, internal distractions are things that prevent us from functioning the way we should. So we should be a bit more intentional about overcoming them. So how do we overcome them? Remember, we can't eliminate these things. Your mind will waver. So it's not something you can eliminate. But you need to identify and manage negative thoughts. So what are the consistent negative thoughts you have about yourself? The thoughts you don't tell anybody about, the one that keeps you up at night, the one that prevents you from functioning even when you're at work. You need to identify them and then figure out how to manage them. But it starts with identifying them. You need to identify them. Don't say, oh, I don't have any negative thoughts. Well, when we talk, I said for me, I will say for every negative thought, just Google what scripture can I use to overcome this negative talk? And then you use that. If you don't want to do positive affirmations, some people are like, positive affirmations don't work. I disagree, but to each his own. It's about setting clear intentions. What are your intentions for doing what you want to do? Do you just want to make more money? And if that money is your greatest value, that's fantastic. Do you just want to be powerful? For me, my intention is I want anything to give me peace. Peace of mind is something that I cherish from the bottom of my heart. So whenever I'm thinking of anything, I'm like, does this give me peace? If it doesn't, then I'll think about it. So, what are your intentions for doing what you want to do? Are you thinking about, does this bring glory to God? If I do this, will it prevent me from serving God? Everybody is different. So, you need to find out for yourself what your own clear intentions are for setting that goal. Just for this in context, what we're talking about is the internal distractions that prevent people from working on their goals, from doing what you said you would do, from doing the things that you started doing and then you stopped doing. So sometimes activities could be distractions. You're going from one event to the other. Everybody's event, you're there, even the one they did not invite you for. That means you're running away from something. So what are you running away from? So set clear intentions to know where you want to be and how you want to get there. Practice mindfulness and focus techniques. Focus can be practiced, it can be learned. You can learn how to work, you can learn how to be mindful. Mindfulness is about being intentional. So it's are things that you should practice. These are techniques that you should practice and not just practice once. And one way to practice them and ensure that you're doing them consistently is to have the weekly reviews. And if we have time today, we'll do a weekly review exercise. I may just leave the screen blank and then talk to you through the exercise because I don't think I kept on any of those slides up. But self discipline, the topic for tomorrow, self discipline is vital. You need self discipline to thrive. You cannot do it on your own, even if you want to just wing it. It takes self discipline and commitment to show up when you say you will show up. Just imagine the Amatan and you want to go for a run. You will give excuses. If you don't take care, there are a million and 10 excuses that you should why you should not do what you want to do. There are a million and one excuses for the internal distractions that you have. So you have to manage stress and emotions. Emotions like anger, joy, happiness are true emotions. As Africans, we're not allowed to express our anger. We're not really allowed to express certain things. You need to learn how to express these emotions. You need to learn how to practice them because these are causing internal turmoils from you. You want to manage stress and emotions. You want to prioritize and organize tasks like we have talked about. You want to practice single tasking and take regular breaks. Yes, take regular breaks. I know you think that by taking a break, you will get distracted and you won't be able to come back. But your body needs that break. I'm speaking to myself. That your body needs that break. You need to take breaks. You need to stop working 9 to 9. You need to stand up, leave the house, come back, get back to work. You need to schedule your breaks. So if scheduling your breaks will work for you, do what works for you, but find a way to actually get things done. What are the other distractions that we may not have mentioned? We talked about environmental distractions a lot. The bike that was just passing distracted me, but I came back to it. The weather could be a distraction. You're hot, you can't think at this point in time. You're like, let this woman just do quick and finish. Technology is a distraction. It's a blessing and it's a curse. Yeah, you are able to binge watch series at this point in time. It's a distraction. Multitasking sometimes prevents you from focusing on what you should be focusing on. We've got emotional distraction and procrastination distractions also. Now, this is where you come in, and I want you to participate. I want you to make a list. Make a list of the things that distract you when you're working. So it's a time for self reflection, a time for you to. I didn't even notice that Wilson was writing. So before we take the 30-second break, we will do read a little bit. Wilson said internal distractions can also come through one's inability to achieve one's goals. Yes, we'll talk a little bit about that briefly. Internal distractions could come because of your inability to achieve goals, personal challenges, and when we take things people say to us personally can also distract us internally. Agreed. Personal challenges as well as what we take about what people say can also distract us internally. So let's go back to the first one. Internal distractions can also come through one's inability to achieve one's goals. 100%. So there are goals that you set for yourself that you've not achieved. So when I'll give myself as an example. If I had my way, my team will be bigger and I'll be able to have almost everybody that I want to have on board on board. Fantastic. Now, I have not achieved that goal. That causes internal distractions for me. If I had my way, I would have sold 1 million copies of my DIY branding planner. Fantastic. I did not achieve that goal. That can cause distractions for me. Now, what is causing distractions for me if I'm 100% vulnerable at this point in time is the delay in the start of my promotion for my workshop. So, for those that are not aware, I have a workshop on the 1st of July. So, it's my first paid event in a long time. And I'm struggling because I usually like doing these things, but it's distracting me from focusing on what matters. So I found myself distracted all day long because I have not been able to achieve that goal. Now, the event is in 12 days and we have not done much. The website just went live today, finally. And most of the things that I wanted to do, I couldn't do. I was just able to film my videos yesterday. So I was supposed to film a video 3 weeks ago. I couldn't film. 2 weeks ago, I couldn't film. I said, okay, I was going to film on my own. My makeup artist did not come. So I used that as my excuse. Can you see? I gave an excuse of why I did not film. But personally, even if the makeup was done, I could not film. I just couldn't. I was just distracted. My mind was everywhere. I was wondering, how am I going to do the workbooks? How am I going to do the slides? What am I doing? Who am I going to trust to do this? What platform am I hosting it? All those things were distracting me and are still distracting me. So that's why I said distractions cannot be eliminated, but they can be overcome and managed. Like I said, I've been so distracted that I was almost canceling coming live again. I said, you know what, I'm not going to do these live sessions daily because I need to actually get things done. So I'm unable to come live. Why am I talking about this? And this is why I want you to make a list of the things that distract you when you are working. When we are getting close to the edge, when we are going through stuff, when we are learning, that learning process is never easy. When we are working on our goals, it's not easy. I'm not telling you that we're going to snap our fingers and every single thing will be fixed. If I tell you that as a coach, I am lying. I'm telling you that these distractions will come, and when you learn to overcome one, another one may rise up, and it will rise up sometimes stronger. And because we are human, because we desire to be the best version of ourselves, when things don't go the way we want them to go, we get distracted. So now from tomorrow, we have 11 days to do promotion for an event. I have just gone live. I just did a video today, so I have to check to see what has gone on behind the scenes. So basically, we've sold no tickets yet. We are just starting today. So between now and then, I'll probably be giving people daily updates if you guys want on what's going on with the workshop, what we've sold, and what we've done. But because I've not done events and I've not done things for a while, and most of the things I do are free, people sometimes struggle to pay. They feel that DK will do this for free. That's a difficult one. It brings distractions. And it's not something that I can just pray away. Because that's what some people say, oh, go and pray. Have you prayed? I'm not saying don't pray. But I'm saying sometimes, let's face it, there may be a bigger issue that could be at hand. So when it comes to getting work done, rather than me focusing on what I am supposed to work on, I am distracted and I'm unable to do something. But I still showed up. I haven't achieved the goal I want to achieve, but I still showed up. Why? I have made up my mind that I will keep my commitment to my commitment no matter what happens. No matter what happens, I will keep my commitment to my commitment. Why am I saying this and why do I want you to think about that? It's not all your goals that you will meet or you will accomplish. No. There are some goals that you will not be able to accomplish for one reason or the other. There are some goals that you would struggle with for one reason or the other. But remember why you are doing what you're doing. Remember that it's for a reason. Delegation is something that I struggle with. And I'm being honest, I struggle when it comes to delegation. I struggle a lot because I like doing everything. I am a retired perfectionist. So this is me even talking to you about perfectionism. Perfectionism has prevented me from doing things the way I want to do it. Now I have outsourced it to people and asked the team to do it. And it hasn't gone the way I wanted it to go. All these things are distractions. Why am I telling you this? To tell you that I don't have everything figured out, but what I am doing is I'm taking the knowledge I have figured out and it is producing results. And when it comes to achieving goals, sometimes the lessons you learn on your way towards that goal actually help build you up. People will say things, especially if you are not on the journey that they want you to be on. And they think, and it's well meaning good advice. When people say things to us, sometimes I listen to the message and I don't listen. I will be like, ignore the messenger, listen to the message. That is difficult, especially when you've put all your effort, your energy, and you did not score the goal you wanted to score. Let's just use that term literally. You did not achieve what you wanted to achieve. People's words can tear you down. They can prevent you from even taking any step. Sometimes they do it intentionally because they see something that you don't see. Sometimes they don't even understand the weight of what they have said. Yes, I'm a retired perfectionist. Sometimes they don't understand the weight of what they've said. So that's why I am intentional about the way I speak to people. I understand the power of words and I understand that as an introvert, words mean a lot to me. So even if I have to correct somebody, discipline somebody, let somebody go, I am still not going to belittle that person's character. Sometimes when people speak and correct you when you're on your journey, they they correct you, not the action. So this is what I will say to somebody that says, I did not achieve my goal and it's causing internal distractions from me. And I would say that doesn't mean you're a failure. The goal did not succeed, but you did not fail. Sometimes we see ourselves as the actions that we missed. So when we don't do things well, we see ourselves as failures. When we do things well, we see ourselves as successful. When everything that could go wrong all go wrong at some time, in the words of Mary, it hurts us, it breaks us. And then what's of when people that we respect their views speak to us in a way that feels personal, like a personal attack, it takes a piece of us. And I said, don't let that happen. It will come. Am I saying those words will not come? They will come. But then what do you choose to do with those words? I listen to the message, I don't listen to the messenger. I'm like, if this person knows better, they will speak better. They're just speaking from their own limited belief. It's because they are blindsided by the truth that when they correct people, they don't need to tear people down to correct people. When you're doing anything, people's words can uplift you or can break you. When people do things to you, like I said, for this one, anybody on my team that is here, all of you are in trouble. Today, Tomechiko and I were having a problem. Let me release a secret. And then I looked at my page and no post had gone up. I said, I have given these people charge of my page, two people. Nothing has gone up. I decided to put up a post, and immediately after I put up my post, a post went up. And I said, okay, at this point in time, I can decide to call and rake, or I can say what went wrong, give excuses. It's a Sunday. I can try and understand. But you have to be assertive. You have to have boundaries. You have to have boundaries with your mind. You have to have boundaries about the people that you let speak to you. You have to have boundaries about people that you share your goals, your dreams, your desires to. So that's why I always have like a circle of people that I talk to. But even if I talk to this circle, I still don't say every single thing. And they know. I know I cannot do this on my own. So the reason you need a community, and that is why we are building the Steadfast Creative Community. The reason you need a community is this. Sometimes you need to be reminded how fantastic you are, Will say. Sometimes you need to be reminded that you have what it takes. Sometimes you need to be reminded that the effort you put in, no one may have seen it, but we saw it. We know the pain, we know the sweat. Others just see the results. I put up a quote the other day. I said it takes effort to do things effortlessly. Your goal that did not succeed now, it took effort for you to do it. And next time you make an attempt to do any other thing, the knowledge, the experience, and everything you've taken from that goal will go with you. So, yes, when you're writing down your distractions, if your distractions are words others have spoken to you about you, then what are you speaking to yourself about yourself consistently? So it's not just, oh, I am the best at what I do once, and then you say once and dusted. Write positive things about yourself, about who you are in your industry, about who you are. As I always say, I'm the best productivity coach in the world. I am the number one productivity coach that everybody will get to want to work with. I'm a New York Times bestseller. I'm a number one, my TED Talks. I'm already speaking this about myself. Take a step further and write these things about yourself. So if you know that yes, words impact you, then support yourself. No one is going to pat you on the back. Nobody is going to speak these words into you. Speak these words about yourself to yourself. Because no one knows you like you. No one loves you like you. That's the truth. Even your twin brother doesn't love you the way you should love yourself. All right. That was a distraction, but thank you all for joining. So now we're going to do a little task. So I hope you have your pen and paper. We've talked about distractions. We've mentioned internal and external distractions. So I want you to list out things that are distractions to you. Just list them out. List out your internal and external distractions. List out things, maybe stories of what you remember when you are walking. Take out time to list these things out. Don't leave things in your head. Sometimes we need to take pen to paper and actually write. So this is an opportunity for you to have self-reflection. I want you to reflect because it will help you identify your own triggers and patterns of distractions. So, what I shared today, I think I'm going to put up this episode as a podcast, is my own struggles, my own internal distractions. Everybody's own is different. But by understanding what pulls you away from your goals, you are better equipped to address them. And then you can overcome these challenges. But if you don't know what is distracting you, you cannot overcome it. I want you to overcome these challenges. I want you to be the best version of yourself. But it starts with having an honest conversation with yourself and doing these things. So we're going to have 30 seconds on the clock. And when you're done, tell me done in the chat. And if you need more time, let me know. So 30 seconds. Welcome back. So let me see. Are we done yet? So have you listed your distractions? Please do this task. It's a simple task. Think about the internal distractions and the external distractions. For me, one distraction that I didn't write down is TikTok. Because once I get on TikTok and I start scrolling, my goodness, TikTok can keep. I'm watching this Turkish series on TikTok. It's absolutely fantastic. Another distraction is Korean series, but I'm having the discipline to watch only one episode or two episodes a week. For you, it could be TV that when you start binging, it could be TV that when you start binging, you start binging and you're binging throughout. But identify your distractions. It's good. So, how do you build resilience against these distractions? So, like I said, I'm talking about myself, and I just have a list that you can take a screenshot of. But this is how I build resilience against distractions. And like, I will just say this, it's not something that is overnight, it's something that takes time. But first of all, it's about you building, being mindful and doing meditation. For me, the meditation I do is guided meditation, and I use a Christian guided meditation called Cultivate Connection. The reason I did that is I tried the mindfulness and meditation from the breathing techniques, all these other ones, ASMR, it didn't work for me. The first day I tried one sleep meditation and I heard a man's voice in my house. I was like, no, 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 I can't deal with this. I tried the Australian accent, I couldn't. So I use guided meditation and mindfulness. And that has to do with a lot of journaling and practices. Cultivate self awareness. Be 100% vulnerable with yourself and be honest and say when you're going astray. When these thoughts are becoming something that are crippling you, do not let it get to the extent that it is something that is leading you down a hole where you just want to close yourself up and not speak to anybody. So, self awareness is about understanding yourself. And I think you can cultivate this by having that daily meeting with yourself, by asking yourself this question: how are you today? How was your day? And you being honest and answering the question, not based on what another person would read, but based on what you read. And I always say during my exercise with my team, when we do any exercise that has to do with clearing our brain and doing a brain dump, which is another way that I avoid distractions. Before I start working, I do a brain dump where I just write whatever is on my mind. And I tell them, how are you doing? Nobody is going to read it but you. This is an opportunity for you to tell yourself the truth. The things you cannot utter with your mouth, put it on paper and afterwards tear it up. But this is an opportunity for you to do that. So, another thing is to set goals and priorities. Have your goals set, have your priorities, know why these goals are important, know why this task should be done at a certain time, know your deadlines. I think sometimes when we hear deadline, because the word dead is in it, we get, no, know your deadlines and act accordingly. Create a distraction free environment, practice time management techniques, build a routine. Routines and rituals, very, very important. We have to do a difference between routine, rituals, and habits. So tomorrow is self-discipline. After that, we may do routines, ritual, and habits. Seek accountability and support. I told you I already have my accountability partners. One of them just joined the call, so that's why I said that to her. And embrace flexibility and adaptability. This is a struggle, but you can do it. Now, when it comes to eliminating distractions, start small. Especially when you want to you want to develop strong focus habits, you want to learn how to focus. Don't try and do 12 hours marathon reading. Start with 5 minutes. Start with doing something. I think Emma told me something, Mel Robbins or something, that she says the 3, 2, 1, and then she gets ahead and she does it. But when you want to start writing or doing anything, start small. So sometimes you can start with 1 minute, the same time every day at 6 a.m. You know, you sit down and you write whatever, and after 1 minute, you stand up. And the next day, you do the same thing. After a couple of days, you move it to 5 minutes and you start building up until you're able to focus for 25 minutes. But it takes time. Remember, overcoming internal distractions is a personal journey, and different strategies may work for different people. I'm an introvert. What works for me may not work for you. I'm an introvert that loves discipline. My strengths are I love building broken bridges. Whenever I see disaster, I run towards it. For someone else that doesn't like that, that may be a problem for them. I want you to think about experimenting with several techniques and then adjusting it to fit your needs. If you have a family, what fits your needs and fits my needs will be different. But whatever you do, once you identify your own strategy, what works for you, and you have made it suit your needs and your environment, I want you to maintain consistency in practicing them. You have to maintain consistency. You have to keep your commitment to your commitment. You have to have that self discipline that if I say I will show up, I will show up. If I say I will show up for 5 minutes a day, I would show up. Like I said, before coming today, I lacked the motivation to show up completely. I did not know how I was going to show up. But the truth is, I did. The past 5 days have not been easy, but I have shown up. And this is what I know for sure. It takes a lot of courage to do things when you are not motivated. And I think everybody listening to this call is courageous. But with time and effort, you can develop a stronger ability to overcome internal distractions. Don't try and do it overnight. Take your time, but be consistent, even if you start with one thing at a time. So I've gone past my time by 4 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. If there are any questions, send me a DM. My name is DK Jonah everywhere, and I would love to hear from you. So don't forget your assignment. What are your distractions? List your distractions, both internal and external. Internal and external distractions prevent us from doing what we should do. So have your self reflection exercise and list your distractions and think of the strategies you want to use to overcome these distractions, because distractions are not going anywhere. They cannot be eliminated, but they can be overcome. They can be managed. You can build resilience and you can focus as you navigate through these distractions and stay on track towards your goals. Thank you very much for joining me and enjoy the rest of the evening. Have a great week. See you tomorrow, same time, 9 p.m. Cheers.